Hi, everyone, and welcome to the next reality check. And today's reality check is about something every financial planning business loves to complain about eventually, the CRM system. More specifically, your CRM has fields that no one ever completes. And then everyone is deeply shocked when the reports don't work. This is one of those issues that start quietly. No drama, no smoke alarm, no dramatic system crash. Just a few fields left blank here and there because someone's busy, someone assumes someone else knows the information, or someone thinks, "Ah, I'll come back to it later." Famous last words. Because later usually arrives 6 months from now when management wants to send a bulk communication, run a client report, check a service level, pull a list of clients by category, or understand where the business actually stands. And then suddenly the system produces nonsense or nothing, or a list that is so incomplete that everyone starts looking at the CRM as if it personally betrayed the business. And very often the conclusion is the system is useless. Maybe, but maybe not. Sometimes the system is not the problem. Sometimes the problem is that the business has never properly decided what information happens, who must capture it, who must check it, and how that information is used by the rest of the business. In other words, the system is not broken, the data is. And that's a very different problem. Now, I'm not here to defend every CRM system ever created. Some systems do deserve a strongly worded email and perhaps a quiet moment of reflection. But in many practices, the CRM is only as useful as the information people put into it. And that's where things start to fall apart. Because in a lot of financial planning businesses, the people who work most closely on the CRM are the administrators, paraplanners, client service team members, or operations people. They are the ones loading the documents, updating the fields, checking tasks, moving workflows, capturing notes, and trying to keep the machine moving. Meanwhile, the advisor or planner may know a lot of important client context, but they don't always realize which part of that information needs to be captured into the system. They know things like the client's family situation, the reason for the investment, that there's a trust involved somewhere, the client is retiring in 2 years, whether the client prefers email, but maybe the spouse prefers a phone call. They know where there's a previous complaint and they know where there is potential business opportunity. And they know whether the relationship is maybe sensitive. But if that information stays in the advisor's head, it does not help the system. And it definitely does not help the administrator or paraplanner who's trying to build a complete record while also dealing with 47 other things, a provider follow-up, 3 missing signatures, and a client who has sent a bank statement as a photo taken from across the room. So what happens? The administrators capture what they can, the paraplanner moves to the next step because the work needs to progress, and the advisor assumes the important things are known. Management assumes the CRM is being used properly and everyone carries on until someone needs the data. That's usually when the gaps show. The business wants to send a communication to all clients in a certain category, but half the category fields are blank. The practice wants to report on review dates, but the review data is inconsistent. And management wants to understand client segmentation, but different people have used different labels. The team wants to filter clients by product type, but not all products were loaded properly. And someone wants to pull a birthday list, but apparently several clients are now immortal because no dates of birth exist. And then the CRM gets blamed. Again, sometimes fairly, but often the CRM is simply reflecting the business back to itself, which is rude but useful. The deeper issue is that many practices treat the CRM as an admin tool when it should actually be treated as a business tool. That difference matters because if the CRM is seen as the thing admin updates, then the business will never get full value from it. But if the CRM is understood as the central source of client and business information, then everyone has a role to play. The advisor has a role, the paraplanner has a role, the administrator has a role, practice manager has a role, and the management team has a role. Because every field that gets completed properly or skipped quietly affects someone else downstream. This is where senior people need to work much more closely with the admin and paraplanning team. Not in a please explain why this is not done way, but more in a help us understand how the system is actually being used way. Because the people working inside the system every day often know exactly where the gaps are. They know which of the fields are being ignored, they know which workflows are chunky, and they know which tasks are duplicated. They also know where the advisor gives information verbally, but it never lands in the system. They know where the system could help, but no one has been trained properly. And they know where the business has created a workaround, then another workaround, and then a workaround for the workaround until the CRM is basically being held together by habit and mild anxiety. And if management is not listening to those people, they are missing some of the most valuable operational insights in the business. This is why I strongly believe that every practice should have a system champion, or in a larger FSP, maybe even more than one. And ideally, this should be someone who understands the system from the ground up. Someone who's actually worked with the workflows, who knows what the administrator sees, who understands what the paraplanner needs, someone who can speak to the advisors and explain why certain information must be captured properly, someone who can sit with management and say, this is not a reporting problem, this is a data quality problem. Very often, this could be someone who started in admin and has moved into a senior administrator, team leader, paraplanner, operations, or practice management role, because that person has seen the system at the coalface. They know the difference between how the system was intended to be used and how it's actually being used when everyone is under pressure. And that's gold. A good system champion is not just the person who knows where the buttons are, they're the person who understands how the system supports the business. They help standardize how fields are used, they spot data gaps, they coordinate training, they liaise with the system provider, and they help test new functionality. They explain why certain fields matter, and they help the team understand the bigger picture. And maybe most importantly, they stop the business from making expensive system decisions based on bad data. Because this happens a lot. The business cannot get a clean report, so management assumes the CRM is not good enough. They start looking at new systems, they compare features, they sit through demos, they get excited about dashboards, and everyone imagines a future where the new system magically solves everything. And then they migrate the old messy data into the new shiny system. Congratulations, you now have the same problem in a more expensive outfit. A new CRM will not fix unclear data ownership. It will not fix inconsistent capture. It'll not fix advisors keeping client context in their head. It will not fix a team that does not understand why the fields matter. It will not fix a lack of system discipline. It may give you better functionality, but it will not create better behavior on its own. And that is the reality check. Before blaming the system, the business needs to ask, are we using the system properly? Have we agreed what data must be captured? Do advisors know what information the admin and paraplanning team needs? Does the team understand which fields drive reports, workflows, client segmentation, compliance checks, or bulk communication? Are fields being completed consistently? Is anyone checking the quality of the data? And have we trained people properly? Do we engage with the system provider? Do we know what functionality already exists? Or are we paying for a system while only using the corner of it we discovered by accident? That last one happens more than people like to admit. It's also important to build a relationship with the system provider. Even in a small practice, someone should be responsible for engaging with the provider asking questions, arranging training, understanding new features, logging issues, and finding out whether the system can do things the business had not even considered. Because sometimes the functionality is there, the business just does not know it exists. Which is like owning a car and only using first gear because no one mentioned that there were others, and then complaining that the car is slow. Now, this does not mean everyone in the business needs to become a system expert. That's not realistic. But everyone should understand how their role affects the quality of data. The advisor should understand that information shared in a meeting may not be captured in a way the team can use later. The administrator should understand why certain fields matter beyond the immediate task, and the paraplanner should understand how incomplete data affects advice preparation and future reviews. Management should understand what the report can and cannot tell them if the underlying data is weak, and the system champion should help connect all of those pieces. Because the CRM is not just an admin database, it's a part of the practice's operational memory. And if the memory is incomplete, the business will keep forgetting important things quietly, repeatedly, and usually at the worst possible time. This is also why CRM audits matter. At least once a year, the business should review how the system is being used, not just whether people are logging in. That is not a system audit. That is a heartbeat check. A proper CRM audit should look at whether key fields are completed, whether data is consistent, whether duplicate clients or records exist, whether workflows are being used properly, whether important notes are captured, whether review dates are reliable, whether segmentation is accurate, whether reports can be trusted, and whether the team understands what needs to change. And then, importantly, feedback must be given to the team, not in a shame and blame session, in a practical way. These are the gaps. This is why they matter. This is what must be corrected. And this is who's responsible. And lastly, give a deadline. And this is how we will check that it has been done. Because data quality does not improve through vague disappointment. It improves through ownership, training, follow up, and accountability. The CRM should be a team system, not admin system, not management's reporting tool, and not that thing the advisor avoids unless someone sends a link. A team system. Each person does their part, but each person also needs to understand how their part affects the bigger picture. If one person skips a field, the next person may not have the information that they need. If one person uses their own label, reporting becomes unreliable. If one person does not update a status, someone else may follow up incorrectly. And if advisor context is not captured, the business becomes dependent on memory. If management relies on reports without understanding the data quality, decisions may be based on nonsense wearing a dashboard, and no one needs that. So here's the reality check. If your CRM reports are unreliable, your bulk communication lists are incomplete, your client segmentation is messy, or your team keeps saying the system does not work, pause before you go shopping for a new system. Ask whether the system is really the problem or whether the business has not yet created the structure, training, ownership, and discipline to use it properly. Your CRM can only work with the information it is given. It cannot magically know what the advisor knows. It cannot complete fields no one owns. It cannot fix inconsistent habits by itself. It cannot turn messy data into strategic insight because management suddenly wants a report. That is not a CRM problem. That is a business process problem. And if you fix the process, you may find the system is more useful than you thought. Or at the very least, you will know what you actually need before spending money on something new. Because a better system will not save a business from bad data. It will just organize the chaos more attractively. And that's your reality check for today.